The Misty Awakening. The Sensory Apocalypse.
In Project Nile, you face the heat. In Project Fortress, you face the cold. Now, in the year 1550 AD, you face the silence. You open your eyes in a forest of tall, green bamboo. The air is thick with mist and the smell of damp cedar, wood smoke, and a strange, sweet incense. This is Japan during the Sengoku Jidai, the age of the warring states. The first thing you notice is the beauty. Everything looks like a painting, but for the sleeper, beauty is a mask for danger. In the 21st century, you're used to noise, engines, music, talking. Here, the silence is a weapon. You can hear a single bird, a distant waterfall, and the soft shush of someone walking on grass. If you make too much noise with your modern shoes, you are telling every scout in the forest exactly where you are. The air is cleaner than anything you have ever breathed. But there's a metallic scent in the air, the smell of sharpened steel and old blood. In 1550, Japan is a giant battlefield. Every valley belongs to a different lord daimyo. There are no safe roads for a stranger. You are not just a traveler. You are a ghost in a land where everyone is looking for an enemy.
The Biological Shock. The Clean Paradox.
As always, we must check your body. In the simulation, your modern immune system faces a unique challenge in Japan. Unlike medieval Europe, the Japanese people are very clean. They bathe in hot springs and wash their hands. But their cleanliness is different from your sterile 21st century world. The water in the rice fields is full of parasites. The fish is often eaten raw or lightly cooked. Your modern stomach, built on pasteurized milk and refrigerated meat, will react violently to this diet. In your first week, you will suffer from the fire in the belly. If you cannot find a way to boil your water or turn into green tea, you will die of dehydration before you ever see a castle. The biggest danger is the lack of protein. You are used to eating meat every day. In Zen-influenced Japan, eating four-legged animals is often forbidden or seen as unclean. You are living on rice, miso soup, and vegetables. Your muscles will get smaller. Your energy will drop. You must learn to survive on the low-calorie logic of the samurai. You are a man of the future, but your body is starving in a world of beautiful gardens.
The Social Prison.
You walk toward a small village. You see people wearing wooden sandals, geta, and simple cotton robes, kimono, but you do not see individuals. You see castes. In 1550, Japan has a rigid social ladder called Shinokeosho. Sure, samurai the warriors. They are the only ones allowed to carry two swords. And farmers the people who grow the rice. They are respected, but they have no power to artisans the people who make things, swords, tools, cloth. Show, merchants the people who sell things. They are at the bottom because they don't produce anything. As a sleeper, you're a gaijin outsider. In Japan, there is no place for a gaijin. If you have no master, you are a ronin, a wave man, or worse, a spy. If a samurai walks past you, you must bow your head to the ground. If you look him in the eye, he has the legal right to cut off your head with his katana. It is called kirisa gomen. To survive the first hour, you must not act like a hero. You must act like a specialist. You find a group of artisans working on a bridge. They're using old methods. You take a piece of charcoal and draw a diagram of a truss bridge. using triangles to carry the weight. You show them how to use a simple pulley to lift the heavy stones. In the 21st century, this is basic physics. In 1550 Japan, this is divine engineering. You have just bought your life. You are now an artisan of the Lord.
The language of silence. Hidden meanings.
You cannot speak 16th century Japanese, but in Project Samurai, words are less important than gestures. In the West, you talk to explain things. In Japan, you stay silent to show respect. You learn the language of the bow. The angle of your back tells the world who you are and who they are. You learn to move your hands slowly. You learn that no is never said directly. If someone says, "It is difficult," they mean no. If you act like a loud, direct, modern person, you will be seen as a barbaric animal. You must learn to hide your emotions behind a mask of stone. This is the only way to gain the trust of the daimyo.
The steel soul. The katana and the cost.
The local lord, a man named Lord Oda, hears about the stranger who builds bridges with triangles. He summons you to his castle. The castle is a masterpiece of wood and stone, built to survive earthquakes and ninjas. You stand before him. He is wearing silk robes and 2 swords, the dado long and the shodo short. To him, these are not just weapons. They are his soul. He asks you, through a translator, if you can improve his army. You look at his soldiers. They're using spears, yari, and bows, yumi. They have just started using matchlock muskets, tanegashima, brought by the Portuguese. But the muskets are slow and bad in the rain. This is the sleeper's choice. You know about the rifle barrel. You know about the percussion cap. You could give Lord Oda a weapon that would end the Sengoku Jidai in 1 month. You could make him the shogun of Japan. But you also know that the samurai culture is built on personal honor and sword fighting. If you give them modern guns, you destroy the samurai. You turn a world of warriors into a world of soldiers. Do you give him the secret of the modern gun? Or do you protect the culture of the sword? You realize that your future knowledge is a poison. If you use it, you save lives by ending the war quickly, but you kill the soul of the country.
The psychology of the tea room. Tsu.
You have survived the first month in the castle of Lord Oda. You are no longer sleeping on the floor with the laborers. You have a small room with paper walls, fusuma, and a straw mat tatami. But your real work is not building bridges. Your real work is inside the mind of daimyo. In the 21st century, mindfulness is a trend. In 1550 Japan, it is a survival skill. Lord Oda is a man who lives in constant fear. He thinks his brother wants to kill him. He thinks his generals are lying to him. He sleeps with a short sword, wakizashi, under his pillow. He invites you to a tea ceremony, chanoyu. This is not just about drinking tea. It is a slow, silent dance of power. The tea room is tiny. You must crawl through a small door. This is to show that everyone is equal inside, and no one can bring a long sword into the room. You sit across from the most powerful man in the province. The air is heavy with the smell of bitter matcha and incense. You watch him prepare the tea. Every movement is perfect, but you see his hand shaking. You use your 21st century knowledge of active listening and psychology. You do not talk about war. You do not talk about money. You talk about the flow of the river. You use Zen metaphors to show him how to stay calm. You teach him the box-breathing technique that modern special forces use to stay cool in a crisis. You tell him it is an ancient breathing art from the West. To him, you are a magician of the spirit. He starts to trust you more than his own family. But this is the sleeper's trap. By becoming the Lord's favorite advisor, you made every other person in the castle your enemy. In Japan, the shadow of a great man is a very dangerous place to stand.
The Shadow War. Surviving the ninja.
One night, the silence of the castle changes. You are a sleeper. You are trained to listen. You hear a sound that does not belong. It is the sound of a ceramic tile moving on the roof. In your time, you have seen movies about ninjas in black suits. In the reality of 1550, they are shinobi, invisible spies and killers who look like normal servants or monks. Lord Oda is the target. You know the history. You know that assassination is a common political tool in this era. You decide to use your modern knowledge of acoustics and security. The Japanese already have nightingale floors of Wisabari, floors that chirp like birds when you walk on them, but you improve the system. You show the carpenters how to use physics to create pressure plates under the tatami mats. You place thin threads of silk across the dark hallways, connected to small ceramic bells. At midnight, a bell rings. You wake up Lord Oda. You do not use a sword. You use chemistry. You have made a primitive flashbang, using magnesium you found in the local mines and a small amount of black powder. When the shinobi enters the room, you throw the mixture into the fire. The light is like a small sun exploding in the dark. The assassin is blinded. He has never seen such a light. In his world, the brightest thing is a candle. The guards capture him easily. You have saved the daimyo's life with a piece of future science. Lord Oda now believes you can command the light of the heavens. But you look at the captured assassin. He is just a young man, a tool of another lord. You realize that by protecting the daimyo, you are helping him continue a war that will kill thousands of people. You are not just a historian anymore. You are the architect of a warlord's victory.
The Field of Fire. The Musket Revolution.
Lord Oda is ready for war. He has 10,000 soldiers. He has 500 matchlock muskets, Tanegashima. But he doesn't know how to use them effectively. Usually, soldiers shoot one by one, and then they have to reload for a full minute. During that minute, the enemy cavalry can charge and kill them all. This is where you change the history of Japan. You introduce volley fire, rank firing. You divide the soldiers into 3 rows. Row 1, fires. Row 2, ready to fire. Row 3, reloading. This creates a constant wall of lead and fire. To a samurai on a horse, this is not a fair fight. It is a slaughter. You also show them the secret of interchangeable parts. You show the village blacksmith how to use a template so that every musket hammer is the same. In the 21st century, this is the basis of the Industrial Revolution. In 1550, this is a secret that can win an empire. The battle happens in a valley called Nagashino. You stand on a hill with Lord Oda. You watch the enemy cavalry, the famous Takeda clan, charge toward your lines. They are brave. They are beautiful. Their armor is red and gold. Then you give the signal. Fire. The sound is like the world is being torn apart. The smoke fills the valley. In minutes, the legendary cavalry of Japan is gone. They were killed by a system, not by a hero. You watch Lord Oda smile. He sees the future, a Japan united under his sword. But you see the tragedy. You have ended the age of heroes and started the age of the machine. You have brought the 21st century's cold efficiency into a world that lived for honor.
The economic ghost. Coins and credit.
War costs money. Lord Oda needs to feed his army. In Japan, everything is paid for with rice koku. 1 koku is the amount of rice one man eats in a year. But rice is heavy. It rots. It is hard to move. You introduce the concept of paper credit and standardized coins. You show the Lord how to create temple bonds, pieces of paper that represent a certain amount of rice stored in the castle. You create a simple accounting ledger. Suddenly, Lord Oda can move wealth faster than his enemies can move bags of rice. He can buy loyalty. He can buy supplies from the Portuguese traders. You are watching the birth of modern finance in the middle of a civil war. But you see the sleeper's shadow again by making money digital on paper. You have made people greedy in a new way. You see merchants becoming more powerful than samurai. You see the social ladder of Shirnokyosho starting to break. You realize that your small improvements are like a virus that is eating the old culture from the inside out.
The loneliness of the silent sage.
At night, you sit in the Zen garden of the castle. You look at the sand and the stones. You are the most important man in the daimyo's court. You have silk robes, the best food, and everyone bows to you. But you are a ghost. You miss the feeling of a cold glass of water from a tap. You miss the sound of a television. You miss a world where you don't have to watch your back every second. You realize that you have outlived your modern life. You've been in Japan for 10 years. Your 21st century watch is just a piece of rusted metal in a box. You start to write a journal. You use the finest Japanese paper and a brush. You write in English, but you also write in a code based on computer programming. You write about the sleeper's regret. You write, I came to save the past, but I am only making it look like the future I ran away from. You realize that history has a gravity. No matter what you do, humans will always find a way to use technology for power. You gave them a bridge, and they used it to move an army. You gave them a lens, and they used it for a sniper's eye. You gave them a soul-soothing tea, and they used it to plan a betrayal. Lord Oda enters the garden. He looks at you. He doesn't see a gaijin anymore. He sees his brother in spirit. He asks you, what happens after the war is over? What is the world like when there is only one king? How do you answer? Do you tell him about the 300 years of peace, Edo period, that are coming? Do you tell him that eventually his swords will be replaced by skyscrapers and neon lights? Or do you tell him the truth, that even in the future, men are still fighting for the same things? You look at the moon. You say, after the war, there's only the silence of the garden, and we must learn to be okay with the silence. He nods. He doesn't understand, but he respects your wisdom. You are the sleeper, and you are starting to realize that the greatest simulation is not the past. It is a human heart.
The shadow of the black ships. Global diplomacy.
The year is now 1560. You are standing on the coast of Kyushu. For 10 years, you have seen only Japanese faces and heard only the Japanese language. But today, the horizon is different. You see a giant, dark shape moving on the water. It is a galleon, a Portuguese trading ship. To the local people, it is a black ship Kurofune, a monster from a dream. To you, it is a piece of your old world. The Portuguese arrived with three things: muskets, silk, and the Bible. They are not just traders. They are the representatives of a global empire. Lord Oda sends you to meet them. He knows you are a gaijin from a mysterious land, and he wants you to speak to these new strangers. You walk onto the wooden deck of the galleon. The smell of the ship is a shock to your senses. It smells of old wood, stale wine, salted beef, and heavy gunpowder. For a moment, you feel like you are back in the West. But then you see the Portuguese captain. He is dirty, arrogant, and he thinks the Japanese are barbarians. This is where you use your 21st century knowledge of global politics and economics. You speak to the captain in a mix of Latin and basic Portuguese, which you remember from the simulations data. He is shocked. He doesn't expect a man in a kimono to know about the Pope or the King of Spain. You realize the danger. The Portuguese want to convert the daimyo to Christianity so they can control the trade. They want to turn Japan into a colony. You use your diplomatic protocol. You do not let them speak directly to Lord Oda yet. You act as the gatekeeper. You tell the Portuguese that the daimyo is already a holy king and that they must show total respect. You use your modern understanding of trade tariffs. You negotiate a deal where Lord Oda gets the best muskets first, but the Portuguese are not allowed to build churches inside the castle walls. You have protected the culture of Japan from a spiritual invasion while still getting the technology of the West. You're playing a game of global chess, and the pieces are moving across the entire planet.
The Sun Fortress. Modern defense engineering.
The war in Japan is changing. Because of the muskets you helped to build, the old wooden castles are not safe anymore. One cannonball can burn a wooden castle to the ground. Lord Oda needs a new kind of home. He needs a fortress of the future. Usually, Japanese castles are beautiful, but they have dead zones where soldiers cannot see the enemy. You take a piece of charcoal and a large scroll of paper. You draw the shape of a star fort, Vauban style. This is a design from 17th century Europe, but you are bringing it to Japan 100 years early. You show the engineers how to use angle walls. Instead of straight stone walls, you build walls that slope outwards. When a cannonball hits an angled wall, it bounces off. You create bastions, triangular points on the corners of the castle. This allows the defenders to shoot in every direction. There are no blind spots. Construction takes 2 years. Thousands of laborers move giant granite stones. You show them how to use concrete, a primitive version made from lime and volcanic ash. This makes the walls stronger than anything in Japan. The result is the Sun Fortress. It is not just a building. It is a machine for defense. Lord Oda stands on the top floor. He looks at the walls and the moats. He knows that no army in Japan can take this castle. You have given him the ultimate shield. But as you look at the fortress, you see a problem. By building such a strong castle, you are making the war last longer. If no one can win, the killing continues forever. You have used your modern mind to create a stalemate in history.
The Information War. The Sleeper's Spy Network.
In the Sengoku Jidai, information is more valuable than gold. Lord Oda has many enemies, and they are always sending ninjas to listen at his doors. You decide to create a modern intelligence agency. You do not use ninjas in black suits. You use your 21st century knowledge of data analysis and cryptography. You create a network of ordinary people. The merchants, the tea girls, and the monks. They are your eyes. You teach them how to look for patterns. If a daimyo in the north is buying more horses than usual, it means he is planning a raid. If the price of salt goes up, it means an army is moving. You are teaching the Japanese how to do economic intelligence. Most importantly, you create a cipher. You teach Lord Oda's generals a simple code based on a substitution matrix. In the 16th century, if a message is captured, any scribe can read it. With your code, the message looks like a list of shopping items or a poem about the moon. It is unbreakable for 1550. One day, your network brings you a secret. A general inside the castle, a man Lord Oda trusts, is talking to the enemy. He is planning to open the gates at night. In the old world, the general would be killed immediately, but you use your psychological warfare protocol. You do not kill him. You start to feed him false data. You let him tell the enemy that the castle is empty on a certain night. When the enemy army arrives at the empty castle, they walk into a trap. 10,000 men are captured without a single drop of blood being spilled on your side. You have won a battle using only information. Lord Oda is amazed. He thinks you can see the future. But you are just using the lessons of the CIA and MI6 in the age of the samurai. You are a ghost in the future, and you have turned the war into a game of shadows.
The silk and the steel. The cultural clash.
As the castle grows, the culture of Japan is changing. You see samurai wearing Portuguese wool capes over their kimonos. You see them eating with silver forks instead of chopsticks at your private dinners. You have brought the West to the East too fast. You sit with a young samurai named Kenji. He is your best student. He understands the math and the science, but he is confused. He asks you, if we use guns and codes and star forts, what happens to the way of the sword? What happens to our honor? This is the central conflict of Project Samurai. You are modernizing a world that didn't ask to be modern. You see that the samurai are losing their purpose. They are becoming soldiers of the state instead of warriors of the spirit. You feel a deep sense of historical guilt. In the 21st century, we look at the samurai as a beautiful, lost dream. By helping them survive, you are the person who is killing that dream. You are making Japan efficient, but you are making it cold. Kenji looks at his katana. It is a masterpiece of steel. Then he looks at the musket you designed. It is a piece of wood and iron that can kill a master in a second. He puts his sword away and sighs. The world is getting smaller, Sleeper-san, he says, and there is no room for the sword in a small world. You realize that the sleeper is the villain in this story. You are the one who is bringing the noise of the future into the silence of the past. You are the cinnabar, the red poison that makes a painting beautiful but kills the person who uses it.
The seppuku dilemma. Life versus reputation.
The year is now 1570. You have been in the Sengoku Jidai for 20 years. You are no longer a gaijin. You are the sleeper of the Sun Fortress. Your hair is gray, and you were the two swords of the samurai. But inside, you are still a person of the 21st century. And today, your two worlds are going to collide. Your student, Kenji, the young samurai you taught about math and stars, has made a mistake. During a battle, he lost a supply line to the enemy. In the 21st century, a mistake at work means you might lose your job. In 1570 Japan, a mistake means you must lose your life to save your family's name. Kenji comes to your room. He is wearing a white kimono, the color of death. He has his short sword, wakizashi, in front of him. He is ready for seppuku. He asks you to be his kaishakunin, the person who cuts off his head after he cuts his own stomach to end his pain. This is the most difficult moment of the simulation. Your modern ethics tell you that life is more important than honor. You want to tell him, it's just a mistake. Kenji, we can fix it tomorrow. But if you say that, you insult him. You insult his family. You insult the entire culture of Japan. You look at him. He is 22 years old. He has a wife and a small son. You use your 21st century negotiation skills. You do not talk about mercy. You talk about utility. You go to Lord Oda. You do not ask for Kenji's life as a gift. You tell the daimyo that Kenji has special knowledge that is too valuable to lose. You tell the Lord that Kenji is the only one who knows the secret code for the new Star Force cannons. You tell him that killing Kenji is like burning a library. You suggest a new punishment, exile to the south. Kenji is not allowed to be a samurai for 5 years. He must live as a farmer and build irrigation systems for the Lord. Lord Oda agrees. Kenji is alive, but he is crying. He feels he has lost his soul. You realize that you have saved a man's body, but you have destroyed his identity. In the Middle Ages, the self is not the body. The self is the reputation. You are a man from the future who values a heartbeat, but you are living in a past that values the story. This is the loneliness of the sleeper. You can save them, but they might hate you for it.
The ashes of HII. The dark side of unification.
The war for Japan is getting darker. Lord Oda is now the most powerful man in the country, but he has many enemies. The most dangerous are the Sohei, the warrior monks of Mount High. They have thousands of soldiers, and they believe they are protected by the gods. Lord Oda orders his army to march on the mountain. He tells you, we will burn the mountain. Every temple, every monk, every child. Nothing remains. In your 21st century history books, you read about the burning of Mount High. It is a tragedy. But now, you are standing at the bottom of the mountain with a torch in your hand. You are the architect of Lord Oda's army. You see the beautiful wooden temples. You see the ancient scrolls. You see the history of 1,000 years. Your modern soul wants to stop the fire. You want to save the knowledge, but you are part of the samurai machine. If you try to stop the daimyo, you will die, and the mountain will still burn. You decide to use your conservation protocol. While the soldiers are fighting, you take a small group of trusted servants. You go into the temples ahead of the fire. You don't take the gold. You take the books. You take the ancient maps, the medical journals, and the poetry. The mountain burns for 3 days. The sky is black with smoke. The smell of burning wood and death is everywhere. You watch the destruction of the old world. Lord Oda has united Japan, but he has done it by burning its heart. You realize that progress in history is often built on a mountain of ashes. You have saved the books, but you have lost your innocence. You are the silent witness of the Sengoku Jidai, and your hands are covered in soot.
The Hospital of the Shadow. Modern medicine in a world of swords.
After the fire of Mount High, the army is full of sick and wounded men. The local medicine is not enough. They are using hot irons to stop the bleeding and praying to the Buddha to stop the infection. You decide to open a House of Healing. You use your 21st century knowledge of germ theory. You don't call it science. You call it the way of the pure water. You show the women how to boil the bandages. You show them how to make soap from wood ash and oil. You show them how to use alcohol, sake, to clean the knives. Most importantly, you introduce quarantine. You separate the men with the cough from the men with wounds. The death rate in your hospital drops by 80%. The samurai think you have a healing touch. They think you can talk to the spirits of health. You see men who were supposed to die walking back to their families. But there is a dark side. Lord Oda sees that your hospital keeps his army strong. He wants you to create a drug that makes his men fight without fear. He wants the berserker medicine. You know about the mushrooms and the herbs that can do this. You know about the Sengoku drugs. But you refuse. You tell him that the heart that feels no fear also feels no loyalty. You are using your modern ethics to slow down the monster you helped to create. You are a healer, but you are also a prisoner of your own value. In Japan, you are so important that you can never leave. You are a national treasure, and a treasure is always kept in a box.
The Battle of Sekigahara. The end of the era.
The year is 1600. Lord Oda is dead, assassinated by his general, just like the history books said. The country is divided again. Two giant armies meet at a place called Sekigahara. On one side is the army of the East. On the other side is the army of the West. You are 65 years old now in the simulation. You are standing on a hill, looking at 160,000 samurai. This is the biggest battle in Japanese history. This is the moment that will decide the next 250 years. You see the result of your work. Both sides have muskets. Both sides have the star fort tactics. Both sides have the volley fire systems. You have given both sides the tools of the future. The battle is no longer a samurai duel. It is a modern industrial slaughter. The sound of the muskets is constant. The smoke is so thick you cannot see the sun. Thousands of men die in minutes. You watch the death of the samurai in real time. The men who train for 20 years with a sword are being killed by a peasant with a gun who trained for 20 minutes. You realize the tragedy of your intervention. You wanted to help Japan, but you only made the war more efficient. The sleeper has been a catalyst for destruction. You feel a deep, cold sadness. You see the banners of the great clans falling into the mud. You see the world of the 16th century being torn apart by the technology of the 21st. The East wins. The country is finally united. The war is over. But at what cost? You look at the battlefield. It is a graveyard of honor. You realize that you cannot improve the past without breaking it.
The Hidden Archive of Kyoto. The Message in the Stone.
Before you leave the simulation, you have one final mission. You travel to a small, quiet temple in Kyoto. It has a beautiful Zen garden with white sand and 15 stones. Under the stones, you have built a secret room. You have lined the walls with lead, which you found in the mines, to protect it from time. Inside, you place the final archive. You do not write about the wars. You write about the future that was. You write about the 21st century. You write about the internet, the moon landing, and the atomic bomb. You write about the mistakes of your own world. You write, I came to the past to find a simpler heart, but I brought the noise of my home with me. To the one who finds this, do not rush to the future. Enjoy the silence of the garden. You seal the room. You hide the entrance with a puzzle that can only be solved by someone who knows binary code. You are leaving a digital key in a world of wood and stone. You hope that when the modern world arrives in Japan, they will find your warning. You are a bridge that only works in one direction.
The final awakening. The changed world.
The simulation of Project Samurai is over. The bamboo forest, the tea rooms, and the castles vanish. You wake up in your chair in 2026, but something is wrong. You look out your window. The city looks different. The buildings are not the same. You pick up your phone and look at a history website. In your new timeline, the Sengoku Jedi ended differently because of your medicine and your diplomacy. Japan never closed its doors to the world. There was no isolation period. There was no 20th century world war in the Pacific. Japan became a center of science and peace in the 1700s. The sleeper changed the DNA of the world. You see photos of 19th century Japanese astronauts. You see a world where the samurai spirit was combined with modern logic without the violence. You realize that you were not just a guest in the simulation. You were the author. You look at your hands. They are clean and soft again. But on your desk, there is a small, old piece of Japanese paper. It is a drawing of a bridge with triangles. Your first drawing in 1550. The sleeper is home. But home is no longer the place you left. You have traded your history for a better one. You realize that the greatest power of the historian is not to remember the past, but to imagine a better one. The dossier is closed. The series is finished. You are Sleeper the historian, and you have finally woken up in a world that you helped to build.
Summary of the Project Samurai experience.
The arrival. You survived the silent danger of the bamboo forest and the biological shock of a rice-based diet. The rise. You used geometry and psychology to become the chief advisor to the most powerful daimyo in Japan. The war. You changed the history of battle by introducing volley fire and star forts. And in the age of the hero, the legacy, you saved the ancient knowledge of the monks and left a secret binary code for the future. The impact, you returned to a 2026 that was completely different, realizing that one person can indeed change the world.